Hey guys, welcome back. I'm really glad to see you here today because we are going to make a utensil holder. This is something my wife has wanted me to make her for a while now. And so let's get right into it. So I've already gotten about 4 or 5 pounds of clay. This could be even 6, kneaded and ready to go. I just want to introduce a new tool. So it's just like the wood rib tool, however, it's a lot taller. And so I put the link in the description to this tool. This helps with really tall pieces or big bowls that you're making. So, and also just so that you remember, if you ever feel like, you're throwing too much and you can't quite get a grip around it, feel free, to throw a little bit less clay. The techniques are still the same and they apply the same. We're pushing down, sliding it. Everything that we've done up until this episode is the same technique. And so I do challenge you to see if you can go a little bit bigger. But if you need to go a little bit slower at the first, and do less clay, that's totally fine. Work your way up to it, okay? Well, let's get right into it so that we can make this beautiful utensil holder. I'm really excited to do this amount of clay. When you're doing more and more clay, you really kind of have to use your kind of weight into the clay to center it. But one of the big tricks is once we get this bottom part kind of under control down here, as you can see, is centering down, okay? Now to do that, what we're gonna do is it's kind of like the same thing where we put our hand on the side, but we're just gonna slowly, as we go down, we're gonna run out of room and just let our hands kind of glide down the piece of clay like this. You see that? So we're kind of like pushing down and letting our hands fall to the sides. Haha. And then we go back up. Let's do it again. So again, I like dragging my pinky down there. Feels really good. This whole top part of the clay is super centered. I'm just gonna go back down and slide because my hands are still pretty wet. How are you doing today? I hope you're having a good day, Please put in the comments, how's your day going? You ready for some hopefully therapeutic pottery, whether you're following along or, just watching and learning? I'm just stoked you're here. It's gonna be a good day. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get that wet. You can see it got a little dry on me down there. Wow, we're throwing a lot more clay than we normally do on here. So let's go ahead and bring this up. And I think we're about there. Boy, is this a lot of fun. The more practice, you get in, it's like the more and more fun it gets. Just gonna kind of bring that down. Now, something to take into consideration too is if you're gonna make a piece that's tall and skinny, you probably don't want to center it into a piece that's really short and wide, because then you're just gonna have to go, try and build up. So what we're gonna do is push in. That's feeling really good. And up. There we go. I'm just gonna bring the sides in just a little bit more. Probably to right there. And then I'm gonna slowly bring my hands up. Now on this last time when we go down, I'm gonna try and keep that width, okay? So I'm gonna put my hand down here, all right? And we're gonna push in from the side. And then we're gonna drag our top hand down. Make sure to squeeze that sponge for water. Look at that. Drag our hands down and slowly let off. All right, let's go ahead and dig a hole. Start from the top here and dig down. Woo. Okay, let's do it again. Get that wet. Push down. Now again, you don't want to go too far till you hit the wheel, but I mean, it is a utensil holder, so if you happen to go too far, it's no big deal. Just in case you're wanting to hold water, then it would be a little bit of an issue. I'm just gonna tug towards me with this hand here. Just slowly pull. God, because you notice, like, as you pull, it just gets easier and easier to widen out, because the clay, the walls, you know, they get thinner and thinner. God, it's looking pretty good. But we need to go just a little bit wider. Pull that clay towards us. And just go slow and release slow. So you can get carried away when you're pulling that clay towards yourself. It gets further and further. Okay. Let's go ahead and smooth out the bottom. So we have a nice compressed bottom. You don't want little, you know, hairline cracks, fractures. That's what I meant, hairline fractures. Popping up in the bottom of your pot. And your wife will ask you, hey, what happened to this? Or your spouse. Okay, I think we're ready to go up. Now, so we're gonna introduce a couple new techniques. One's, you know, that rib tool that's really tall. It's just a little different. But here, our first pull, we're gonna use our palm, okay? This is called a power pull, okay? Ready, power pull, here we go. I'm pushing in with my palm, and I'm gonna slowly push in and up. And look at that, it just really gets a bulk amount of clay kind of moving. Let's do one more, okay? And you know what? If you want, you could even do it on the left side here too. I like to do it over here though. So we're really gonna just kind of push in. And then we're gonna slowly bring our hands in and up. Just kind of helps you push in a lot of that clay. All right, now we're gonna get this wet. And now we're gonna do a big pull. So, what we're gonna do is hold this guy on the side here. We're gonna really push the walls because we're gonna go a little bit wider. And so the shape of this utensil holder is be great, but all we're worried about is just pulling that clay up, and then we're going to shape it. So right now we're just wanting to get the most out of our clay. Wow, look at that. That was a great pull. Oh, don't forget to breathe when you're doing this. Okay, and then we'll slowly let off at the top. Whew. Don't forget to smooth out that top. It'll get away from you. Okay, let's go ahead and do one more pull here. So we're gonna get it wet, nice and wet. Now I'm really gonna kind of push towards the sponge, as you can see from the inside. And slowly bring my hands up. I'm literally like pulling this lump up with my inside fingers. And then my outside hand is kind of supporting it. I'm gonna bring it all the way to the top here. Okay, right about here, slowly let off. I learned this from my friend Eric Landon, also known as Tortus. If you don't know who he is, look him up. especially if you love pottery. He is incredible. I actually took a workshop from him in Dubai, of all places, a few years back, and it was such a cool experience. He's really good at breathing while he's doing these huge pulls. It's incredible. All right, I don't know what the inside looks like because there's so much water down there. So now that we've got this huge vase looking thing, let's take a look. All right, we're looking pretty good. All right, I'm gonna get the walls nice and wet, because here's where we do our first kind of thing here. Now, what I'm gonna do, this guy's awesome. It's the same thing as this, okay? But it's just a lot taller. So what I like about it is you can see where I was inconsistent in a way. So let's just go ahead and fill in those gaps and keep it nice and straight. Okay, right about here, I'm gonna slowly let off because I need to change my grip. What I mean by that is I'm gonna tuck my hands in like this. So I'm nice and sturdy, and then I'm gonna slowly push with that rib and bring my fingers up at the same time. And then slowly let off. Check that out. Okay. Now, I'm also gonna come back with this guy. I really like how this you can get a right angle with. And so if we wanna kinda establish that base, this is the perfect tool for that. Because this is how thick we want it. And we just want it to be nice and straight. All right. Okay, I'm actually kind of digging this style. So if we were to just kind of push in with this tool, look at that. We could do that, and then watch this. Let's take our finger right here on the inside and just push. Holy cow. Okay, now I hope you're gonna start catching my vision here, but I want to bring the top out now. So it's almost like a step. We're just gonna go real slow. Slowly move that tool up. We're really stretching the clay here. Gosh, that's pretty. Dang. I was gonna go all the way up. I think we need to do another step. This is so cool. Okay, so let's suck in that bottom part just a little bit. Oh my gosh, my wife's gonna love this. And now let's just kind of go over this again real quick, because there's still a little gap there. Don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to breathe. Holy cow. Okay, now, am I crazy if we want to do this even more? Like one more step? Look at that. Oh. Okay, look at that. So we got a step there, and now the final piece. We stick it right there, and let's widen this guy out nice and slow because we don't want it to affect the bottom. Wow, shoot, she's gonna. This is pretty cool. I've actually never done this type of like shape here. So if we just kind of push that clay to the edge there without without ruining it, you know, because we got to breathe and we don't want to ruin it. Oh, okay. Let's flare this out. It really needs to come more out. Sometimes it's hard to break the elasticity of this, like make this more elastic up here. But you can see we kind of flared it a little bit, so I'm going to angle it in slightly. Oh, this is so cool. I hope she likes it. I bet she will. Wow. Wow. Okay. Guys, you who's watching this, we're in the zone. I think we did it. Okay. I think we did it. Let's clean off your hands, because I think it's time that we should heat this up. You know, quit while you're ahead, right? Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. Wowee. Okay. And there's not like a lot of water underneath, which is great. I'm still gonna get as much as I can. This will help with drying it out too. If you can get the sponge around it, oh my gosh, this is such a cool shape. I'm still in awe. It's just like the things that happen when you're just feeling it out, and it just happens. Okay. Real quick, let's kind of trim the bottom just ever so slightly. What we want to do is I do want it to kind of go in at the bottom, so I'm just going to slowly dig down and in and look at all that clay that's going to come off. I'm going to slow the wheel down as I put my knife in here like this. I'm just going to slowly back my knife down, which is going to push the clay towards my right hand. That's looking great. Put my knife back in here because we got some more goobers that want to come out and play. Okay, so I'm going to angle it like this. Now watch what happens. It's going to push that clay up the knife instead of onto the tool or onto the pot. And that's what you want. You don't want all that going on the pot, because then you're in trouble. God, I wish someone taught me that when I was in high school. Would have made life so much easier, because I'd make this beautiful pot and then I'd be trimming the bottom and the clay would just come flying up onto my piece. And there I thought, oh, I'm almost done. Nope. Okay, look at that. We kind of cut in, which is great, because now it almost feels like the piece of pottery is floating. So if we come in here with this guy, holy cow. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Let's just match that angle right there. And then put that right there. And then the final touch, just get your finger wet, and we'll just kind of barely brush up against it. So we don't want it to really round it out, just, wow. Okay, so now that we are totally done messing with it, let's go ahead and heat this up. This guy might take a minute to get off the wheel. There's a fine line between too dry and too wet, and we are right in the middle right now. Okay. I think we're ready to cut this guy off. So let's go ahead and take this wire tool and hold it tight and push down. It is so critical as we slowly slide this wire under here that you kind of let the pot cut itself off the wheel. Now I'm gonna kind of flip this right over. Look at that. Oh, this was like such a good vase. I'm like so impressed with myself. Okay, that's pretty good. Get that in the middle. Ah, that's still way off. Oh, you know what? We might just have to hand. There we go. We got it. I was like, okay, if it doesn't get in the middle after this, no bueno. We're just gonna smooth this out. And with bigger pieces, you can actually smooth out the bottom while it's moving pretty easily. And so we're just gonna go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna smooth that. And we're just gonna slowly let this wet sponge glide across the clay and smooth out the bottom. Get like so smooth that these lines kind of disappear. Remember before the kind of like wax on, wax off. This is kind of like sponge on, sponge off. We're buffing it with a sponge. There we go. Wow, that's looking great. Okay, now before you sign it though, it's really important you take all the water out of the sponge and then go over the top of it. What this does is it smooths it out even more because it absorbs that wet clay. And it also gets it ready for signing. Because when you sign it, you don't want it super, super wet. And then what I like to do is start in the middle. Once you're done, it's like all smoothed out, the finishing touch. Smooth out the middle and just kind of work your way out to the outside, and it has this nice, here, I'll show you. It's got this really, really nice like swirl. You see that? So basically that's what you're going for. Now let's go ahead and sign it. I am so proud of this piece. Okay, so we're gonna put T in. There's a lot more space for me to like sign it. I love it. It's also a lot more room for messing it up. Okay, now check that out. Look, the most simple way to finish your piece of pottery. Just like that. Okay, now let's put it on here. Whew. Boom. Just like that. You can kind of run your finger across the top, and we have a utensil holder. My wife's gonna be stoked. Okay, well, this is ready to go in the kiln, so let's go ahead and bisque it. Whoa, no! Okay, we're gonna glaze this anyways, and we're going to turn this into a plant pot. I was debating on not using this anymore, but I decided, you know what? This is a good lesson for everybody to learn that even though, you know, we made some beautiful pieces, sometimes you just can't help but, you know, control what happens in the kiln. So my wife's gonna be very upset, very sad maybe about this, but hey, let's go ahead and turn it into a planter pot, because ideally you could put this underground to about there and it'd be nice and beautiful. So in the heart of that, we're gonna do a matte clear, okay? So it's supposed to kind of look like this. Now, we've already kind of added a little bit of water to this, and I shook it up, so make sure to shake it up, you know, 1 to 2 minutes. Again, this is Penguin Pottery Supplies glaze, and really excited to see how this turns out. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, because we're going to have to fire this upside down, because standing right side up, it just kind of falls over. Actually, we could fire it like that. Maybe we'll do that. Let's go ahead and fire it like that. So basically, we can glaze just about everything except where it touches, which it looks like, I think I can see it. Yeah. So let's go ahead and do that. This time, because it's a much bigger pot, we're gonna use a fan brush. So it kind of looks like this. It's like 3 brushes in one, really. And so let's give it a try. But to make it easier on ourselves, we'll start like this, Now I'm just gonna kind of swirl and dip my brush in here and watch. Check this out. This is the one time I'm gonna let you glaze the bottom if you want to, because it could just sit on the counter as well and become kind of like a little piece of artwork. Now I'm just actually, instead of being super careful, we're gonna end up taking the sponge and just cleaning it up anyways. So let's go ahead and liberally kind of paint this on here. Now this is the matte clear. I'm really excited to see kind of how this turns out. We need to do about 2 to 3 coats. They recommend 3, so we might end up doing 3, but usually on most glazes, if you can get at least a couple coats in there, it usually turns out really nice. Look at that. We're just gonna use this nice big brush to really get across this, what once was a utensil holder. And I'll be honest, I think I may have rushed this guy a little bit. It was a bigger piece, and so when they're bigger, they have more water, obviously, in the clay. And so it's important to try and make sure that you give it enough time to dry so this doesn't happen. So like I said, we probably should just wait a little bit longer, because that's kind of what I can see happen. But hey, we'll make something out of it, right? It's not the end of the world. We still got tons of pottery that made it through just fine, and we're really excited to see how this all turns out in the kiln. So let's go ahead. I'm really glad we're gonna glaze it kind of on its side, because I was debating on leaving the rim blank and just firing it upside down, which would work just fine, as long as the rim, didn't have any glaze on it. Wow, this glaze is kind of hard to see. I can only imagine what it looks like on camera. Look, just making sure we're getting that whole entire piece nice and coated. Yep, there we go. Now the first coat's always, it's always a little bit harder to get on, because that's when the pot is just really soaking it up. It's like a really dry sponge when it's bisque fired. But so far it seems to be taking it pretty well. And look at that. We made it all the way around once. Now we're just going to go back that same way, because it's already dry. Wow, look at that. It's drying so fast. It's kind of nice when you're painting bigger pieces. Well, let's not forget to get the cracks down in here. Don't want to forget those. So let's kind of go across the bottom here. There we go. Okay, looking good, looking good. Just want to get plenty of glaze on there. Because you want it to be as even as possible too. Now heck, we'll just get in here a little bit. Get that all nice and glazed up. Because we're going to come back with a sponge and make sure that we get the points of contact. And the way we can make sure we do that is you actually will, I'll show you, but essentially you'll set it on a sponge, so that when you set on the wet sponge, the pot will tell you which part it was sitting on, because it was wet. It's kind of a little hack there. So get that all nice and glazed. Because really, you only have to worry about the parts that have glaze on them. Oh yeah. You can tell you're getting closer when one of two things happens. Either you're running out of glaze, and that surely ensures that you're getting closer to the end, because obviously you'll be out of glaze, so you can't glaze anymore. Or the glaze starts to become really easy to just slide on, just like that. Look at that. This is a good little lesson, you know, even if the pot doesn't make it through the firing, don't give up. Whether you decide to keep it or not, that's up to you. But when life throws you lemons, make a planter pot, right? That's my philosophy, I guess, in this one. It's true, though, because if you go too deep, you know, and you're digging the hole when we first made it, just make a planter pot. Oh, look at that. Okay, that's pretty well lathered. Now, I'm just going to set it there for a sec and go over this. I'm going to do these little guys right here because I want it to look really nice. That's looking great. Wow, this glaze, it just dries so fast. Okay, so let's go. Let's start doing this top and the inside. There we go. I like to get quite a bit of glaze on the rim, because the rim is kind of like one of the focal points when people look at your pottery. So when you show your friends and family, don't forget the rim, or even they'll notice. They're not going to say anything, but they'll notice. Geez, I hope we have enough glaze. Kind of running out here. Just kind of scooping it inside there. Oh, glazed my finger. That happens sometimes. Good thing glaze just like washes right off. Now I'm doing quite a bit on my brush here. Whoops. Because I want to make sure we have plenty in here. I don't want to have to do it twice. Plus, like, the good thing is you only really need to do this top part down to where it is cracked, but we're going to go a little further than we need to because we have just enough glaze for that. Because the thing is if I knew this was going to be a dedicated planter pot that we'd put in the ground, I probably wouldn't be glazing so much of the inside. But granted, this is gonna be, I could totally see it being just like a piece of art. Chilling on our table, which I think would be really cool. Not sure what my wife would think of that. But if she sees this, I think it would be really cool. It's kind of just like a nice little life lesson right in front of your face that, hey, it's art, so don't worry about it. Things happen. Let's learn from them and just keep on keeping on. There we go. Oh yeah. It's really tricky to get down in there. And look at that, we're almost out of glaze. Whew, that was a close one. That's pretty good, because this is a pretty good size piece of pottery, you know. I think it was at least 6 pounds or something. Look at that. Okay, let's see. Yep, I see right there. But hey, you know what? We only have so much glaze, so let's do this. Let's do this. There we go. Just doing a few little patches. Oh, that's awesome. You know, I love what Penguin Pottery Supplies does that nobody else does that I'm aware of. I'm gonna do this rim one last time because you know what I said. People, even if they've never done pottery, if you don't get that rim just right, remember. Oh, this is awesome. They put these little beads inside, which helps stir up the glaze. It's awesome. Okay, now let's go ahead and make sure that we know where it's gonna sit. So the way to do that, get a super wet sponge. We'll just put it on the wheel and then we'll place it on there. And then I like to kind of rub it back and forth just to make sure. See that? Obviously, it's not going to be as sturdy on the sponge, so you have to be really careful. But this is important. You have to really make sure that glaze gets rubbed off, which it did. See that? So, put that back there, and boom, you have a piece of art. Now to get the full effect. Ha ha ha, what do you think? I think it's a keeper. All right, let's go ahead and throw this in the kiln and do glaze firing. This guy's a little bit bigger than the other ones. And man, it's such a bummer about this. You know, it's hard to tell what will happen in the kiln, but you can kind of see the glaze tried to fuse it together a little bit, but it shrunk in an interesting way. So, hey, happy accidents, right? Because guess what? We might not be able to use this for a utensil holder, but it can still be used as another form of art. And so I thought it was pretty cool that it actually naturally kind of sits in a decent way, pretty stable like this. So let's take a look and see what happens when we spin it. It's so amazing. It's totally a different type of shape of pottery when it's tilted on the side like that. Well, friends, I hope you've enjoyed this episode and enjoyed being with us along this journey, especially of this guy. And I hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you for the next episode, the final episode of this series. And hope to see you there. So cool.